the stories are being told, learn where the payoff or the sing-along is, and all these are things that happen kind of consistently in most great songs. So it should be a common thread through most of the songs that you guys listen to. When I was just coming up, I would study other songwriters that I liked and respected, and I would listen to their songs and say, "Ooh, I like how they did this in this song. I like how they did that in that song." So I gathered a lot of information and really was dedicated to studying other great songwriters. The next important thing is, and maybe the next step for me was, I was learning how to recreate great songs that I liked, so that I could really learn what made those songs work. And I know some people say, well, why would you want to copy songs? And I copied other songs because I wanted to see how they did it. And that was valuable to me, like figuring out what the chords were in other people's songs, going and playing the piano and actually learning hit songs. I was studying like Michael Jackson songs and Quincy Jones productions and Babyface productions and things like that, and I was learning all their different chord progressions. Um, and then I was studying their melodies. Where do their melodies go? Like, how do they start in one area and how do they build to the next area? Um, and then how did it culminate in a great chorus? So I studied that. So again, the first thing I did was go back and listen to a ton of songs. The next thing I did was start emulating or duplicating, replicating songs that I loved. After that, I think what's important is to start making your own music, obviously, and putting your own twist and your own creativity into your music, and finding who you are as a songwriter. Maybe you grew up listening a ton to, Diane Warren ballads, and that's where you gravitate towards, or maybe you grew up listening to, you know, R&B songs, and maybe that's where you gravitate. But finding yourself as a songwriter and finding your niche and your style is kind of the next thing. And you're going to take all your experiences, all the studying you've done, all the listening, all the learning of the chord progression and the melodies, and now you're going to take all that and put it into your own song. So that takes trial and error. That takes writing a lot of songs. That means sitting there playing chords, chord after chord after chord, doing track after track after track. If you're a top liner, it means writing the top line over and over and over again. Just doing new melodies, new lyrics, coming up with better concepts, rewriting verses, and it takes a ton of repetition. And when I say that to people, they usually are surprised how serious I am about this. But writing like 2 songs a week is not repetition. Writing 4 songs a week is probably not repetition. It's more like writing 7 to 10 songs a week and doing it consistently. And I don't want to be discouraging to you guys, but writing songs and doing this for a living is hard work. It's not easy, and it's not something that you learn quickly. So staying on focus or on track as far as writing songs. So the repetition of writing those songs is really important, because you're going to develop a style, and you're going to develop a sound, and you're going to develop, like I said, who you are as a songwriter. Some people will go from wild swings from genre to genre, which is okay. I think that sometimes can be good, but at this early stage of songwriting, it's really about trying to find out who you are as a writer and the stuff that you really like and you can do well. So try different things, experiment with a lot of different things, and see what works. Sounds good. See what you have the most fun doing. See what you're creative doing, um, and then refine that. So you've listened, you've studied, you've started to learn the songs you love, emulate the songs you love, and then you start to put your own spin on the songs that you're writing now, and you're starting to write your own songs now. The next step for me that's really important is collaboration, and finding other people to write with, other people to bring um, their creative opinions to the table. Because if you're writing by yourself all the time, you're not getting that input, that extra inflow of information, that energy and creativity. I find collaborating with people and creating with other people, you're always learning something. You're always getting like, oh, I love how they did that. And then you'll take that and put it into your database of songwriting. You'll put that into your like arsenal of things you can draw from. But without doing any collaborations, you're always going to write the way you write. You're always going to kind of write the songs that you love to write. And you're not maximizing kind of how you store information and have that information that you can draw from when you're writing other songs. So the next step for me is collaboration, making sure you're meeting people, whether it's just around your neighborhood, whether it's online, whether it's at school, wherever it is. Find somebody else who's doing what you're doing or who's trying to do what you're trying to do, whether that be a songwriter as part of the top line songwriter or a music maker or even just a musician who kind of has some creative ideas. Collaborate, get together with them, make music in any way you can. It might not be the greatest song in the world, but one day you might learn one thing, and then the next day you might learn one other little thing, and every day throughout the course of a month you've learned 25 or 30 great things, and you've added some more information into your database of things you can draw from. So I highly encourage collaboration. After you've done a bunch of collaborating, the next thing is to do a lot of demos. And that's one of the exciting things about why we're here and why the company's set up, so we can help you do these demos and make sure they level. But even for that, you need to do as much recording on your own as possible. So taking the songs you've written and get a great demo down. Nowadays, it's really competitive when it comes to demos because technology allows all of us to make great music. It allows all of us to be able to sit down at the computer, at the laptop, and make something sound great. Make it sound like it'd be on the radio or coming off of Apple or Spotify. There's no more excuses for people saying, like, I don't have access to a studio or I don't have access to musicians. That's why you're here. Now you have access to musicians and studios. So after you've written a bunch of songs and you feel confident and comfortable with the songs you've written, it's really important to start the process of making great demos. Depending on what your motivation is for writing songs, my motivation for writing songs was I wanted other artists to sing them, and I wanted to hear people singing my songs, and I wanted to get my songs on the radio. So if that's your goal, you need to make your demos as good as possible. Most people are not going to hear a great song through a piano vocal demo unless you're pitching it to like a DJ or somebody like that. Most artists and A&Rs and managers and people like that want to hear the record sounding kind of like the record's going to sound. So making sure your demos sound of a certain quality is really, really important. You're not going to probably make great demos your first time out of the gate, so it's important that you do it a lot. Again, repetition. You're writing a lot of songs, you're demoing, recording a lot of songs, you're trying to get your demo sounding as good as possible because the song will be reflected in the way the demos, unfortunately. It used to be cool where you could just sit at a piano and kind of just hum a song. Somebody would love it. You play it and you sing it, and the A&R person would say, oh, I love that. Let's record it. Let's go into a studio and do it. Now they really are listening to what's the song going to sound like. There's a little bit less creativity, I think, on the executive side because they need to hear the song fully fleshed out. So spend the time that it takes to make a great demo and do it often. One song, if you think you've written one great song and then you're going to make it off of that one song, it's not happening. You have to write 100 songs to get one or two great songs. And then when you get one or two great songs, you need about 30 or 40 great songs. So writing one great song, although it's a huge accomplishment, it's probably not going to change your career. You're going to need to do that over and over and over again and have an arsenal of a bunch of really good songs that will get you, either in the door or if you're going to release this stuff independently, that's going to attract enough attention to have a sustaining career. So really important not to just think you're accomplishing great things when you write one great song. It's really important to have multiple things happen at the same time, a bunch of great songs coming together, and things that you're proud of and you're happy with. But the other part of songwriting that's important is comparison, and a lot of people don't believe in this theory, but once you've done all the steps, you've listened, you've learned, you've studied, you've replicated, you've added your own creativity into it, you've collaborated. Now you've done hours and hours on making great demos. Now it's time to start comparing and listening to what you're competing in. Listen to whatever your platform is. It's Spotify, if it's Apple, if you're still on radio. Listen to the top 40 songs if you're in top 40. Listen to the, whatever the different genre of music you're on, listen to that station and listen to the songs that are working. Listen to the songs that other people are writing that are successful. Um, and compare. Listen to your lyrics. Are they special? Are they saying things in a unique way? Saying the same old "I love you, I miss you"? Or are you saying cool things? Are you saying things that are relevant and comparable to other hit songs you hear? And again, this is just my theory. Some people don't like to listen to anything, and they just like to write in a vacuum. But for me, I like to listen to what's going on. I like to be a student of the industry and where it is stylistically, like what kind of songs are working. Is it somewhere with a bunch of up tempo records talking about fun and partying? Are we, is it a ballad season? Is it what's going on in music right now, and how can I write songs that are relevant, applicable to today's artists and today's market? So again, you've done demos. Now you need to make sure you're comparing your songs to other great songs right now. And it doesn't do you a lot of good to compare songs to your songs to songs that used to be working and used to be successful. You have to be comparing to what's working now. And some of you are saying, well, that's cheap or that's cheesy. Why are you trying to just copy people? I'm not saying copy. I'm saying make sure your songs are competitive and it's relevant and they're working in today's market. Because if you just are trying to write songs to play for your friends and play in your bedroom, that's different. You can do that, and don't listen to anything I'm saying. Just write whatever comes out of your mouth, whatever comes out of your fingers. Put it down and enjoy it. But if you're trying to do it as for a living and you're trying to make money and you're trying to find some level of success, you have to be competitive. You have to do what's working or better, and you have to find out what it is that people are accepting and beat that. You're not going to come in from an outside position as a new songwriter with an ordinary song and find success. You're not going to even come in with a good song and find success. You're going to have a great song that is better than something else somebody else has heard. A&Rs are in their offices listening to songs all day, every day. Artists are being pitched songs every day. So I think we've talked about some of the steps, but going back again, it's about studying, first of all, listening, paying attention. And in those early stages, you're learning again what the song structures are, what the formats are, what the instrumentation is, where different parts of the song happen and what's happening in those parts of the song. From there, you're going to try and copy a couple songs, try and find out what the guitar chords were, how they played the guitar on your favorite Eagles song, or how Prince played the guitar on this song, what made this song special chord progression wise. Then you're going to listen to a bunch of Katy Perry songs or whoever your artists are and figure out what makes the melody work. Why is that Taylor Swift song so popular? What is it about that song that I can't get out of my head? Study that. Then you're going to start bringing your own personality into it. And at that point, you're not listening to everything else. You're not copying anything. You're doing what feels natural and what you've absorbed in your years of studying and years of listening to music since you were a young person, like I was. I was listening to music my whole life. So when it came time for me to make music, I'm drawing from my experience. I'm drawing from, it's like my mental computer database of all the stuff that I've uploaded into my database is sitting in my brain. And now when I go to play music or play piano, those things are coming out because they're all here. They're subconsciously in my brain. So again, you're now replicating stuff. Next phase, you're doing your own versions, your own music. You're doing what comes natural to you, drawing from your past music experiences. Then you're collaborating. You're working with a ton of people. You're meeting anybody that you can that you might think could teach you something, or you might be able to learn something from, even if they're worse than you, even if they're not up to your level. You can always get a great experience writing with somebody that you've never worked with, because they'll do something slightly different than what you'll do. So you're collaborating. Then you're perfecting your songs and perfecting your demos. One thing that I didn't talk about is going back and reworking songs and reworking lyrics, reworking music. So many people nowadays are afraid to go back and like readdress a section of a song or a whole song. Let's say, if that lyric's not strong enough, let me rework this lyric, or let me come up with a better chord progression or chord changes for the chorus. It's not lifting like I want it to lift. Do things to the song that will improve it over the course of a week or 2 weeks, and you'd be amazed at how good of a song you have. Most people write a song and they're like, okay, I wrote a great song, it's a smash, oh my gosh, and they drive around in their car listening to it. At no time are they listening to it with a critical ear and saying, how can I make this? Is every lyric good? Is every lyric meaningful? Is every note I'm playing accomplishing the right emotional is it achieving maximum emotional impact on the listener? You have to do this. You have to revise. You have to work. As part of perfecting your demo is going back and really working and really trying to improve both on the lyric and top line and the music and melody. Um, so that's an important part of demoing your songs and getting good at demoing your songs, knowing what to leave alone, knowing what to change. And I find one thing that helps me in that area is, again, comparing to relevant music, to today's music, to what's working. If you want to know what's working, go on today's hits on Spotify, go on the Billboard Hot 100, go on to any of the top playlists on Apple, and you'll hear, all the charted playlists. It's all right there for you. The information is so easy to access. It's like not, you don't even have to look hard to find it. So compare the songs that you're writing to those songs. Um, and then constantly trying to improve. And then once you've done that whole process, the next phase is doing it like 5,000 more times. I can't even begin to tell you guys how many songs I've written and how many songs I had to write to get to the point where people were paying attention to my music. And if you're liable to get discouraged, or you're a person that doesn't like to hear no, then you should definitely not try and be a songwriter, because it is hard work. It is putting yourself in harm's way when it comes to people's opinion. Your ego is very exposed, because every time you do a song, it's personal, or at least it should be. And you're putting yourself out there. So when people don't like your songs, it can be hard. You have to get past that. You have to look at it as just a stepping stone. Every song is a stepping stone to the next song. You never know when you're going to write a great song. You never know when a song is going to be something that really impacts a lot of people. So you have to keep writing. You have to keep perfecting. You have to keep improving. So I know maybe you guys are going to have some technical questions on specifically how do I write a great hit song, and my answer is it's going to be tough, because there is no answer to writing a hit song. You could ask anybody, I don't care how many hit records they have. There's no magic formula. It's about being true and honest and really emotionally open with what you're talking about, and making sure that you're saying things that people can relate to, saying things that you feel people want to hear, or maybe they don't want to hear, but they're interested in hearing it. It's about musically creating an emotion or a mood with the music, and having enough catchy moments in the music where not only is what you're hearing lyrically interesting and inviting, but the music is as well. There's got to be enough catchy elements in the music. So it's a combination of those two things. But I wanted to, at least at the beginning of this chat, walk you through some of the steps to improving your songwriting. But I think going from this point forward, we can start talking about how to write a hit song, some of the steps that I go through on a daily basis. And not saying that I write all hit songs, but that's my goal, and that's what we try and do, is write songs that people are going to love and listen to. So my process is, generally I'm working on music first. I'm generally sitting at a piano or my keyboard, the computer, and I'm coming up with chord progression, maybe a bass line and a drum feel that I like. And I generally am a collaborator. So the way I write is very collaborative. I'll have a top liner, I'll have maybe another musician or two in the room, and we're starting with music, and generally something pretty basic. It's not a full flushed out track. It's like maybe piano, keys, and a couple sounds and some drums. And then we'll start throwing around ideas lyrically. But musically, what I try and do is, as I said, create a mood or create a vibe with the music based on what we want to write, or what mood I'm in personally, what mood the artist I'm working with is in, or my co-writers. Like they might say, I feel like, more somber or more depressed mood, or like Friday night I'm feeling good, let's make something fun, upbeat. But make sure the music is accurate, and make sure the music is depicting the mood you're going for, because if you're trying to write a certain song and you don't have the right track, it can throw you and your writers way off base, and you'll end up very disjointed on the song. So pick a direction for the music and try and stay in that vibe and that zone musically, so that you can write the right top line. The other thing with the music is, You have to find something that's unique slightly to me. I mean, there's so many songs now that sound alike, but to me, you're trying to find something that's slightly different and fresh, whether that's a really cool chord change in one part of the song you're going along, and you throw a surprise chord change in, or maybe it's a sound, the synth sound or the weird sound you're using that's really unique and fresh. Maybe it's some strange timing like you're using or something. But I always try and find something in my tracks that sound fresh and unique and interesting. Um, and it's a fine balance between doing that too early because some top liners don't like anything interesting in the track. They just want to write to the most boring piano and chords. So it's up to you to decide when you want to kind of enhance the track to the point where it sounds really unique and fresh. That might be after the top line's done and after you recorded the vocal, or it might be before. Up to you and up to your co-writers. But in general, at the end of the day, you want your tracks to sound unique. You want your track to sound interesting. Um, some of that is production, but some of that is actual songwriting, like how my chords are moving, how my bass line is going. Uh, really trying to work on making that stuff sound unique and cool is important to me. Then the next thing is making sure the top line, the lyric and melody is um, is accessible, is easy to understand, is easy to grasp, easy to kind of catch on to melodically, not saying and singing things that are so far over people's heads or so far beyond the realm of like people thinking, oh yeah, I can relate to that. So as a songwriter, also it's important that you stay involved in your songs. Like if you're a track guy and you just write tracks, or a girl for that matter, you just do tracks. You just make a track and hand it off to somebody. You're gonna lose control of that song. You're not gonna have a hand in whether or not it's a great song or it's an average song. You've done your track, and then it's up to the top liner. But my advice would be to make sure you stay involved in the song from top to bottom, even if you're just doing tracks. So once I finish the track, I would like to be in the room and be involved with the top liner when they're writing it, so that we can kind of help guide it and help shape it into a song that we think is is a good song. So also as the person who makes the music, you have an idea melodically, or at least a direction or something in your head, or at least I do, of where I want the song to go and where I think the song has the potential to go. So I always recommend people do music be involved in the top line and the melody of the song. So that's something to think about. The next step is making sure the top line is right. And so if you're a top liner or a lyric or melody writer, you have to get into the track and find out what the track is saying to you. Where is it taking you? Don't try and write, don't try and force your lyric agenda over the top of a track that doesn't support that. Make your lyric cohesively fit with the track and the mood and the timing, the sections, the phrasing, everything. But most importantly, you got to have them. Make sure you're capturing what the track is saying to you and writing the appropriate song. And in writing the appropriate song, part of writing the appropriate song is saying things that are contemporary and relevant to what's happening right now. I mean, you can't write a song like you're in the 1980s. Obviously, you can't say the wrong slang. You can't say things that don't work in today's song. So that's something to pay attention to. But you also don't want to timestamp your songs. At least I don't want to. Some people will try and say every clever slang saying in the song. I'm not a huge fan of that. Some people do it, some people don't. I just try and say things that are unique and in a cool way. I try and say things that when the listener hears it, like, "Oh, that's clever," or "I like that," or "That's really, really kind of cool how they did that," or how they explained that story, or how the story unfolded. As a top liner, you're trying to come up with a unique concept. The title or the chorus of your song needs to be something that's easy to grab onto, and something that is relatable, and something that's going on in your life or somebody you know's life or somebody around you, one of your co-writers. It has to be something that's relevant. Like, what bothers me a lot is when co-writers get together and they just try and start picking things out of thin air, and it really has no meaning or no depth behind it. It's like the songs for me that work best are songs that come from an experience. It doesn't have to happen to you. You can put yourself in the place of other people, but it's best to me, in my opinion, if you're writing from a place of experience, and you're coming up with real thoughts and real feelings and trying to put those in words. specifically saving the chorus and writing the verses. Like, if we had more time on this, I could break it down a little bit further, but the verses are obviously the story section of the song where you're going to tell your story. You're going to set the table or visually or however you want to, however you like to think of it. I like to be very visual with my verses and figure out, okay, as the listener's hearing the first verse, they have an inclination of what the song's about. They feel like they're setting the mood, what's happening, what's the setup. The pre-chorus a lot of times will be where I start giving them a little bit more information about where we're headed, and then the chorus is the payoff. And the chorus is where you're talking about um, everything that the verse is saying has to lead up to the chorus, and the chorus has to answer all the questions the listener has. As they're listening to the verses, you could be telling them, where you went, what's happening, what's going on. Then the chorus, you're telling them why all this happened, why it's important that they're listening. Why does this song even mean anything? What does the song mean? What is the emotion behind the song? Where is the song going? All that is answered in the chorus. And at the end of the chorus, the listener has to know exactly your perspective, exactly your thesis, whatever it is you're talking about, and they have to know exactly the emotion that you're feeling, whether it's a breakup song, whether it's a makeup song, whether it's a party song. All that is determined in the chorus, and it has to be said by the verse. Without the verse, a chorus just stands alone. With the verse, the chorus has a real payoff, and it means something deeper than just the simple words that are in the chorus. So that's the format for me. Verses always set up to a chorus, and if you're writing things in the verse that don't relate to the chorus, to me, it's not. That doesn't work for me. I like the songs where the verses are actually saying things and giving you some insight, giving you some setup to where the chorus is gonna hit you with the kind of the payoff. The bridge for me is usually either an alternative perspective or some additional information that you didn't think you were going to get as a listener, or maybe something else the listener can consider, like, oh man, that's kind of interesting. So it's usually like kind of an offshoot of the rest of the song for me, just because it's a bridge. It kind of just goes in a different place. Musically, usually bridges are different chords progression, different sounds. So I like the lyric to also kind of have a fresh perspective there in the bridge. And then finally, the last chorus out. If you're a singer, this is where the biggest moments of the song happen. If you're a songwriter, this is where you're really emphasizing the title or the chorus or the hook of the song. This is where, by this point in the song, the last chorus, hopefully everybody knows the words you've said in the chorus. If they don't know the chorus by this last chorus after the bridge, then you probably made it too complicated and you probably crammed too many words into it. So this last chorus is where it's got to be the biggest moment in the song. It's got to be the biggest payout, and it's got to be everybody singing along with it, no matter what kind of song it is. So that's the basic song structure for me, and how I like to try and write songs. Um, Other bits of information about writing great songs, to me, it's really about all the things we said early in the conference here, which is paying attention to what's working, paying attention to what's happening, know your history, have a database from which to pull from, and then just doing what comes natural and write songs from the heart, from a real emotional place, uh, and be honest with your music. I think that's probably a good baseline, and hopefully that's inspired some questions from you guys, specifics about individual songs or anything you guys want to know. Generally, when I give this talk, someone always asks me about writer's block, so I'll answer that question right off the bat. I don't believe in it. I feel like I'm sure it's a real thing, but you have to work your way out of it, and you can't succumb to saying, I just don't hear anything, I just can't think of anything. To me, there's always something to be thought of. There's little mental tricks you can play on yourself to work yourself out of writer's block. Um, some of it is just recording anything and then erasing it and recording anything after that and erasing it and just going through this process of creating something. Even if it's not great, create something, put it down, erase it, start over, create something else. Even if it's not great, put it down. Just get in the habit of putting stuff down and putting stuff out, because when you're writer's block, like, I just can't think of anything. But I promise you, as a songwriter, you can think of something. You might not like it, but you can think of it. And if you can think of it, put it down, get rid of it, think of something else, put it down, keep going in that cycle. Also, writer's block tends to happen if you're doing a lot of the same thing. So if you're having writer's block and you can't come up with something cool, switch genres for a couple days. Like if you're writing like hip hop records all of a sudden. Try and write a country song just for fun. If you're a rapper, I don't care. Write a country song. Or if you're a rocker, all of a sudden Garth Brooks or like write an R&B song or whatever it is. Switch genres and just take yourself out of your creative box. That sometimes will help writer's block. The other thing that for me helps writer's block is studying other music. Like if I'm really stuck on a song, I just can't come up with anything. Find another song that sounds like the song you're trying to write. Go listen to it. Get some inspiration. Go go watch a movie. Get some inspiration. Find something that evokes the same emotion in what you're trying to do. Go look at a piece of art and see if that moves you and gives you some emotion. And try and find other ways of triggering the emotion that you're trying to get out of the song you're trying to write. So those are a couple things that that help with it when it comes to writer's block. But also, to me, if you're a songwriter, this is something you're doing every day. It's not when you feel the mood or when inspiration comes. Great songwriters write songs every day. Not all of them, but many of them. And again, this is my opinion and my style and my philosophy. It's not everyone's style. If you did this with five other songwriters, there'd be five other systems. But for me, the songwriters that are great, and when you're in a great songwriting rhythm, you're writing every day, and you're treating it like a true job, and you're trying to improve, and you're trying to come up with something really great every day. Again, you're not going to come up with something great every day, but it is a habit. Some of my favorite songwriters say they wake up at 8 o'clock, write songs till 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and then go home. It's their job. So those are a couple things. At this point, if you want to ask some questions, I'm not even sure how to do it technically here. Let's see if I switch over. Maybe I'll look on the chat. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, I'll take questions. I think I can see them here on the chat window, unless, Chris, you have another way of doing it. I think I'm done, but I'm not exactly sure.
Done with what?
Webinar, I'm not sure that I'm not.
Is skyscraper out yet?
So someone said, what are your comments on writer's block? Hopefully they heard what I said about that. Uh, yeah, I think we spoke a little bit about writer's block. If you didn't hear everything I was saying, type the question again, and I'll check it out, but I think we discussed that. What exactly is a top liner? So a top liner is the person who writes lyric and melody. They write the top line, the lines that go over the top of the music. So when I say top liner, I mean lyricist. And most lyricists are lyricists, so they write words, but they also write melody and they also sing melody. So a great top liner is somebody who can come in, hear a track, and put melody and lyrics over the top of a track. So Joe came in late. He said, what are your comments on writer's block? I said I don't I don't really try not to succumb to writer's block. I know some people just literally can't work when they feel like they're having writer's block, but to me, it's about finding inspiration other places. Listen to other music that kind of sounds like what you're trying to write. Watch a movie, TV shows, other things that you can use as input into your database of things. When you're stuck and you don't know what to write, go listen to other great things. Also, one process is to put down ideas on like if you're having writer's block as a top line or a lyric and melody person, just sing a bunch of things, write a bunch of words, even if you don't like them, write them, put them down. Then you can erase them and redo them again. But it's a habit of making sure you're actually creating something. Just create. If you have writer's block, just create. Most people have writer's block because they can't think of anything that they really like to sing or to play. So who cares if you don't like it? Play it anyways, write it anyways, create it anyways, and then in an hour after you're done doing it, erase it and do it again and do it again, and slowly you'll get out of writer's block and you'll start creating things that you like again. But it also, I think, is important, as I said, while you're doing that, make sure you're listening to other things, make sure you're drawing inspiration, getting emotionally connected to other things that give you the same feel as the song you're trying to write. But don't just sit there and say you have writer's block. I never believe in that. Let's see. Yolanda, I have a question about getting my music heard. How do you feel about submitting music to Blaze Track, Music Ray, Taxi? Can you recommend some good contests that songwriters can enter? Yolanda, I think getting your songs out there any way possible works, whether it's Blaze Track, Music X-Ray, I haven't heard of that one, Taxi. You can do all of them. It's hard to place a song through a lot of those services. I find the most songs are being placed because an artist heard it or an A&R person heard it and they loved it, or a manager. So for me, it's about um, trying to reach out to other people. I mean, nowadays you have email, you have social media, you can always get a song to somebody, whether or not they're going to listen to it. Is another question, but being persistent, emailing, DMing, all that stuff really works. But I think the biggest problem that I have with most people, they're doing that before they're ready. Like, I have a page on Blaze Track, but most people are submitting songs to me that are so far away from being ready to be listened to. And again, that's why I say compare yourself, listen, study. Like, don't send me or somebody else a song that is so far and away not ready to be listened to. You're wasting your time and your money when you're submitting songs. And spend that time improving and getting better and writing songs that are really, really up to par and up to today's standards. So I feel like Blaze Track and some of those other services, artists tend to go send those songs out of services way before they really should. All right, Craig, what do you do with your songs after you demo them? Um, Hopefully you guys are still hearing these. Otherwise, I'm just talking into the ether here. What do you songs after you do with your songs after you demo them? Okay, good. You're hearing me. Great. Thank you. Craig, after I finish my songs, I mean, I'm in a slightly different position. I'm very fortunate because artists are generally coming to me for songs and they're asking me for songs. But when I was an up and coming songwriter, what I did with my demos was most of them I threw away because they weren't good yet, and I wasn't confident, I wasn't 100% solid and proud of the demo. Until I was 100% proud to compete, I would throw those songs away, or I'd go back and work on them until I got them up to speed. Once they were up to speed, I would take the songs and I would try and get everybody I could to listen to them. Today, that means social media. It means probably SoundCloud. It means email. It means taking a trip to LA and finding the local recording studio, your favorite record company, your management office, standing outside playing your music, driving up and down the street in your convertible with your music on blast. I mean, there's a million ways to get your music heard, and you have to be creative. You have to be hungry. You can't just sit in your studio making it. You have to get it out. So be creative, be hungry, find a way to get your music heard. But that's not a problem in today's society, getting music heard. It's like everywhere. There's a million ways to get it out. When I was coming up, you had to burn it on a cassette, or writable CDs were just actually getting started. So It was really expensive. You had to mail stuff. Nowadays, getting your music heard is easier than ever, but you have to be hungry. But back up a step, because before you start flooding people with your music, if it's not right, you'll probably have one shot with somebody. If I get emails from somebody and they send me 50 emails, generally I'm going to open their email. But if the song that I get is not good and it doesn't have even any promise, generally the person's going to get blocked. So make sure before you go out, the songs are up to par. Next question, Michael, which lyricists are the ones you recommend listening to? Depends on the type of songs you're writing. Um, and it's really hard, but I would say go on to whatever platform you listen to music on and find the credits of the songs that you love and find the credits of the songs that are really working and study those people, depending on the genre of music you're writing. I don't know all the different top liners in like country and western, or there's different people for each genre. So do a little bit of homework, do a little bit of Googling, find the name of the song, go on the song, they'll have a Wikipedia page, it'll say who wrote the song, find that person and start stalking them, start studying them. I have the lyricists that I like and that I listen to. You got to find yours. All right, Michael, hopefully that helps. Um, the artist, this is Juan, the artist that you enjoyed working with the most. To me, there's no one artist that I really enjoy working with, because every artist is like a challenge. There's some artists I hate working with and that I really did not have a good time with. But as far as the ones I enjoyed, that's impossible. I love working with legacy artists and legends, because those are people I grew up listening to. I was lucky enough to work with Michael Jackson, Aretha Franklin, and you know, I don't know, Donna Summer, Shaka Khan, Elton John, and all these amazing, like, I guess you'd call them old school artists now. And that was really, really fun and super exciting, because again, I loved their music when I was young, and this is the music I studied as a kid, and I always dreamed of sitting across the console from a great singer or somebody like that. So those are fun. But then new artists is great. Justin Timberlake was his first solo record when he first came out. Nobody really knew what he was going to do. I love that. I think he's one of the most talented people I've worked with. Love working with Chris Brown over the years. He's a crazy talent. So prolific as a songwriter, singer, artist, everything. I love that. Some of my favorite singers, I love Tori Kelly is a great singer, although she hasn't had great success with her songs. She's a great, great singer. Um, Jennifer Hudson, of course. I love working with Jennifer, great voice. I can't even think of some of the other fun people that I love to work with. I literally have fun every day with every artist, because I take it as a personal challenge. Like, how are you going to make this artist sound good today? How are you going to write a song that really showcases this artist's talent? What are you going to do that works for this artist? And it's like a science project or a puzzle, and you piece it together. So even if the artist is not the best singer in the world, like Britney Spears was not the best singer in the world, but I really enjoyed working with her, because it was such an interesting challenge, and she was such a hard worker and such a good artist, that I was like, this is amazing, this is going to be so fun. And I think we made some great music together. So long answer to your question, but there's no one artist that I enjoy working with the most. uh, Here's a question, Harvey, I would like to collaborate with you writing to any artist. Is it possible? Send me your music, I'll check it out. I collaborate all the time. Helen, you've inspired us to work harder. Harvey, great. I'm glad I was helpful, you guys. That's what I'm trying to do here. If there's anything else anybody else wants to ask here, you're welcome.
Hey,
One.
Harvey. Harvey?
Looks like,
Wow. That was a great webinar. Thank you so much.
of course. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to everybody for listening.
Thank you. Cool. Yeah, if you guys still have questions after the webinar, shoot me an email and I can forward them and see if we can answer them afterwards. And yeah, other than that, I will hear and see you guys next month for our August webinar.
Bye bye, everybody. Thanks.